Hello everybody, how's it going? Lord Josh here once again. Welcome back to the channel. As you can see, I'm not in my usual throne room. I'm actually in my study to raise a rather interesting subject that isn't brought up a lot, or at least I haven't seen it being mentioned a lot. The concept of the spiritual struggle. Now let me define what that means. When I first became a magician in 2007, I follow a Taoist path, as you all know. I went online and I had a look, and back then there was nothing, there was literally nothing that would be useful to me. There was two videos that I remember finding back then in that year, and they were both in Chinese, in a foreign language. I couldn't understand them, so they were useless. There was hardly any blogs, there was nothing on the subject that I wanted to learn about, which was Taoist magic. Now naturally, when you can't find any information, what do? You either give up, or you go into yourself and you look for the answers that lie within, and it forces you to be independent. It forces you to look elsewhere and not rely on other people to get the information. And I feel like I've gotten to the point now, I've got a couple of thousand subscribers and I've made almost 100 videos on various occult subjects. People are watching the channel and they're sending messages to me very often, I would say on an almost daily basis now, asking me, how do I do this ritual? How do I reach contact with this spirit? What does this mean? What does that mean? And I feel like I would be doing you a massive disservice if I didn't tell you what makes all of this work. That's a spiritual struggle. It's finding out for yourself. It's trial and error. Let me tell you this, in 2007, there was one person that I really wanted to meet and discuss things with, magically speaking. I must have sent this guy about 14 emails, and at the time he never responded. I was asking him questions. What do? I don't know how to summon the winds. I don't know how to call forth storms. How do I work with this weather deity? Sent him all these emails over about a 2-year period, and he responded to none of them. At the time, I was really pissed off because I thought, what an ignorant guy. What a fool this guy is. This guy's writing books on all sorts of subjects. I'm not going to name him, obviously. He still is a very well-known occult figure in the wider community. And I was thinking, he doesn't even have the time to respond to a young guy just starting out in magic. All these years later, I now realize I thank that person for not responding to me, because it forced me to be resourceful. It forced me to look inward for the answers, and it made me a lot more independent as a magical practitioner. So when you're on the verge of wanting to reach out to somebody because you've got some questions that you want answering, this is going to sound silly, but I say don't do that. Before you send the message, sit back and think. Just think to yourself, do I need a bit more time to figure this out for myself rather than letting someone else tell me? And the thing is, even if that guy I was talking about in the emails, even if he would have responded back to me all those years ago, I would not have been able to make the information work because I wouldn't have been ready for it. I wasn't prepared at the time to hear those things and to understand those things, because information without experience doesn't really get you anywhere. And it's the experience that counts. And I get it every day now, people asking me these things. And I don't want them to take it the wrong way. It's not that I'm ignoring them. It's that I know better now. From personal experience, I know better than to respond to everybody's whims and questions. That's how this really works, the spiritual struggle. In 10 years' time of doing this, you become so hardened to the fact that nothing truly can ever perplex you. Nothing can confuse you. You become immune almost to challenge. Don't get me wrong, it's still exciting and it's still tough. Taoist magic is a technical beast. It's a multifaceted animal. There's so many layers to complex Taoist ritual magic, but you have to figure them out. You really do. And the satisfaction that I get from sitting back and saying, I'm probably not the best. I'm probably not even in the top, 1,000 Taoists. But what I've done today, what I've done with this ritual, I can take credit for it. I've made this my own, and I love it for the fact that what you see here today has come directly from me. How many people can say that? Not many, really. You have to make it your own. I think the ultimate goal of most magicians years down the line is to create their own magical system. And you don't do that by spending too much time reading other people's material, and you certainly don't do that by spending too much time on YouTube watching other people's videos. And I know that sounds a little bit silly coming from someone who makes videos, but I constantly reaffirm over and over again in my Taoist lessons, don't just take it from me, don't just believe what I'm saying, experiment and try for yourself. And if you get a different experience to me, that's great, but it doesn't mean that it's inferior or superior. It just means it's different. That's the way it should be. It's not a competition. Spirituality shouldn't be like a 9-to-5 job. It shouldn't feel like, oh, it's a grind. It should feel like freedom. But at the same time, the spiritual struggle, it's not so much a struggle in the sense where you're pulling your hair out. It's like, I'm on a mission. I've got to figure this out. I've got a code to crack. When I make my videos on Lammat symbolism, there's not a person on this planet that could do it in the way that I do it. Not a person on this earth who could decipher the symbols in the way that I do. I don't run to anybody before I make those videos and say, hey, what do you think this means? I've got a mind, I've got a gut, I put them together and I use them. And I don't see too many people doing that today. Trusting your own inner voice, your own gut instinct. Is it always right? Not necessarily, but it's more often right than it is wrong, I believe, with my own personal gut instinct. Your inner intuition counts for almost everything. So when I sit down to talk about Lammat stars, 4-directional synchronicities, nobody taught me how to do that. I'm not even sure if you can be taught something like that. You have to sit there and analyze it. And if it takes you 6 months to find out something, do it the right way. I would rather learn everything at a snail's pace than have someone sit here in front of me teaching me everything quickly. I want to take credit for it. I want to know I've done this, I've accomplished this. I get immense satisfaction from that, I really do. And I just don't see, we live in an age right now where if you want to find something out, there's a free PDF file of a book available on almost every subject. There's a YouTube channel with a playlist available on every kind of magical subject. The mystery, the sense of getting there yourself, it's gone. Well, it's not gone, but it's going. People are eroding it over time. And I think that's sad. That, when I first started, my God, it motivated me like hell. Like hell. It really did. It gave me such inspiration. I remember the first time when I Googled on YouTube Taoist weather magic, and I saw 0 results. And I knew that there was a major gap in the market. I thought, this is fantastic. I found my calling. Here it is. Don't be intimidated by the fact that, oh my God, I'm a blank slate. It's a wonderful thing to be a blank canvas. It means you've got incredible potential to do great things. That's the way I saw it. Whenever I think of this subject, I'm always reminded of a particular story. There was this weather magician in China who lived on this mountaintop. And he was a really powerful Taoist sorcerer, a mystic. He was capable of, all the fantastical spells like levitation, invisibility, at least if you believe in the mythology. And he lived directly on this mountaintop, which gave him this incredible view of this entire forest. And of course, with his reputation, a lot of people came into the forest to try and pick his brains and try and understand some of his secrets. And what he would do is he would give them trials and tests. He would create severe weather patterns, so severe hot and cold temperatures, lightning storms, hailstones, and that was his way of weeding out the strong from the weak and seeing who was determined, who could withstand the storm, physically, literally speaking, who could actually stand it and reach him at the other side. And those few, 95% of them failed. 95%, as soon as they saw that lightning bolt, they ran in the opposite direction and never came back. And that's what he did to get worthy disciples to join his sect or lineage, or just to give them information. In the modern occult world, people seem to think that this information is a right, that they're entitled to it. They're not entitled to it. It's a luxury, and it's something you have to study and you have to appreciate it. So whenever you see something online and you think, I can just message this guy, he's going to tell me everything. Well, maybe that's not necessarily the best thing to do in the long term. Short term, perhaps, but you've got to always consider the bigger picture whenever you talk about magic. And just a quick word to all of my fellow occult YouTubers out there, this is for the creators. Just because you've slapped your name and your logo onto every mass-produced item that you can, it does not give you the right to micromanage the ascent of your viewers, nor does it give you the right to take away their own eureka moment. Do not deprive your viewers of their own eureka moment. This is something I'm very, very conscious of as an occult YouTuber. When I go in depth about Taoism, I talk about the ins and outs of many things, but I don't say everything, because if you say too much, you take away the power from the viewers. And the biggest myth online about the so-called YouTube gurus is that they give power by revealing information. They don't. The only power comes from you, and you cultivate that over time as an individual. That's how it works. This kind of thinking really came in handy when I was creating my Lamat meditation video, and I sat down and I said, no, I want to rewrite what it means to make a guided meditation. Usually, typically, they have the very cliche, you're going to be calm, you're going to relax, something to listen to before you go to bed, something to unwind. I flip the formula on its head and say, what if I would create a stimulating, energizing, exciting meditation that's designed to amp you up instead of calm you down? It's like an alternative to a cup of coffee. It's something you would listen to before you go to work in the morning, because it jacks you up. It makes you feel great. It makes you feel powerful. It's that wonderful charging meditation. And I put that out. I didn't look for any kind of validation from anybody else to say if that was a good idea or not. I went straight ahead and I did it because it sounded right to me. It's only when you're in that headspace that you make your greatest work. I call it being the selfish artist. Yeah, it might come across like, oh, you're only doing it for yourself, but that's when people enjoy it the most, when they see that you believe in what you're doing and it means something to you. That's the most important part. And let me be abundantly clear, I'm not sitting here advocating occult secrecy. I'm not saying we should treat magic like a private community where outsiders are not welcome and you can't ask questions and you can't get answers. I'm not even talking about magical secrets. I'm saying that we as individuals should work to develop a mindset and an attitude where we have resourcefulness and independence, where we don't depend on other people and external things to babysit us and directly spoon feed us information. And whenever we encounter resistance or encounter our next challenge, we should learn how to do that as individuals and as solo practitioners. I've been solo since day one, and I always will be. There's not a lineage out there, there's not a sect out there, there's not a teacher out there that I want to go with. I'll quite happily pay attention to what other people are doing, but fundamentally, the key is the word here. It's the self. All magic, whether it's left-hand path or right-hand path, whether it's Western or Eastern, it fundamentally has to come from within. It has to come from the self. That's what self-help should be about. Self-help isn't about reading all those shitty freaking cliche New Age books. And it certainly isn't about looking at all these YouTube gurus online who are offering their $1,000 ritual for hire services and their overpriced shitty talismans. It's about looking within and finding the answers that you already know deep down, and you don't need external encouragement or influence to get there. So thank you for watching this, everybody. Hope you've enjoyed this video. I'll be back soon with more Taoist magic. Take care.